Welcome to my podcast. My name is Corrinala. I come to you from the Pacific Northwest where I live with my partner, our 2 kitties, and 2 adopted Mustangs. Information about the Wildhorse adoption program will be in the episode description box. This podcast covers knitting projects, my horsemanship journey, and my other passions like vegetable gardening and bicycling. If you're new here, I hope you find the content interesting. If you're a returning viewer, it's always great to have old friends. The format of this channel typically includes musings on an early walk to the barn to feed the horses, then knitting content, some catch up on the horsemanship journey, and finally more musings or maybe a little bicycling footage if I was lucky enough to get out. Enjoy, and I hope to see you soon. Hey friends, today is Friday, February 6th, 2026. I am hoping I can get this podcast out into the world. It's been pretty tough the last week. I'm referring to my dad, and if you're a regular viewer, you know that he has been in ill health for months now, and in the hospital or in a rehab center. And last weekend, the medical staff advised that we transition him to hospice. And the hospital has been very gracious about not actually moving him to a hospice facility, but have been providing comfort care for about a week now. And we didn't really know how long he would be in this kind of comfort care situation. I'm going to try to put my boots on and talk at the same time. As you know, we are going out to the barn to feed the horses. Yesterday, well, let me back up. So the family, thankfully there's a fair amount of family in the area. My dad's wife's family, primarily. I'm the only close relative to my dad that's here. I have a cousin here, but she hasn't been involved, so I don't know, I'm going off on a tangent. I'm supposed to avoid talking about this, but I want to talk about it. So the family has been up, and being very supportive, spending a lot of time with my dad's wife and my dad, and our plan was to go yesterday afternoon after work, and I got a call at, I don't know, I would say around 11 a.m. saying I needed to get there because by the time that Randy and I had planned to get there, it'd probably be too late. Well, Randy had the plumber scheduled. He also had someone scheduled to come out and fix the garage door. So he wasn't able to go with me when I needed to go. And he was pretty upset about that, which I think is very sweet. But I told him I'd keep him posted, and I went off to the hospital, and you know, Dad was in that state of I don't know, I don't even know if he was conscious. I mean, I kind of felt like he knew I was there, but he wasn't particularly, I mean, he'd kind of turn his head towards me a little bit or nod, but you know, his eyes were half closed. And so I was there. Randy did eventually be able to come, and Dad was still with us, and then more family came later, and by then I'd been there for about 5 hours and wanted to make room for other family members to be there, because more were going to trickle in later. Good morning, Bragi. So we left, and you know, I said goodbye to Dad, and I was going to leave him in the very capable and loving hands of the rest of the family, and left. Didn't get any news till I got up this morning, but they all left around 10 p.m. last night, and Dad was still with us. So Dad has always wanted to do things his own way, and he's also very stubborn. So he's hanging on for reasons that none of us really understand, only he can understand. So waiting for news. And the vets, I'm trying to show you some like sunrise, because it is a beautiful day. My vet's coming today to do just routine stuff with the boys, so probably won't have a lot to talk about horsemanship wise. I can talk about later. I can talk about what I've been doing with Odin as far as his PT goes, and I do have a new cast on, so I'll share all of that later. I can get to feeding. Good morning again. So I'm just gonna jump right into the knitting portion of my podcast. I see that my shirt is peeking out from my sweater, but let me share what I am wearing. This is the Weir sweater. It is knit in pieces and then sewn together. I crocheted it together. I used a Barocco yarn. It's a linen wool blend. It's getting pretty pilly, and I haven't really done anything about that. So I posed a question, I don't know, several episodes ago, I think when I last wore this sweater for the podcast, posed the question of, you know, what do you do with your precious knits that you don't want to give away, but they're showing their age? So, well, I haven't done anything with that. I'm also wearing a pair of hand knit socks in self-striping yarn. I don't remember the colorway, but the yarn dyer is Freckled Whimsey, one of my favorite self-striping yarn dyers. And the pattern is by Kay Litton, who is also known as the Crazy Sock Lady. And it was the Heel-Toe-DoSiDo. So it has kind of a chevron pattern on the front, which they were fun to knit. That's all I'm going to say about, well, no, I've got more to say. Of course I do. I will link the project pages from Ravelry in my show notes, however, or in the description box. However, I didn't really start taking good notes on my projects until, I want to say, sometime last year. So you will find the link to the pattern, but you may not see very many other useful information about the pattern. So that's my caveat. What am I working on? So I'll tell you what I haven't been working on. I haven't been working on the Purr-fect socks, the colorwork socks by Charlotte Stone, and I haven't been working on the socks Surf Wax by Summer Lee. I've been focusing on other things, and one of the things that I have focused on is the pattern or the project that's in this bag. This is a crocheted bag, crocheted by me. The pattern is by Nitty Natty or Lotven Stitches, and it was crocheted out of cotton. So I think I took decent notes on this in my Ravelry project page if you go to my page and then search for float tote. So, excuse me. So the Talvinen, what kind of progress have I made on the Talvinen? I finished the right sleeve, and I have made good progress on the left sleeve. So I am working in the stockinette. I have probably about 25 more rounds of stockinette before I start this colorwork section, which really isn't very long. I think it took me maybe a couple days to do this, and then do a decrease row and then the cuff. So really getting there. The yarn is fingering weight yarn. The main color and this pink accent color are by Emma's Yarn. She's a yarn dyer out of Florida. And the purple colorway is Nightshade, and the pink colorway is called Love Drunk. And then this contrast color is by Woolen Women, and it is Kentucky Derby. I am using, I think I knit the main body, the main colorwork section in a US size 4, so 3.5 millimeter. And then the sleeves, I'm using a US size 3. And I did this colorwork section in US size 3, knowing that the decrease row was going to come next. So normally I would use a size 4 to prevent this kind of puckering, but I'm hoping it'll block out. So that is that. And I should have some leftover yarn to go in my 100-acre wood blanket. I have made a little bit of progress on that this week. Just knitting during the waiting time, or I had some training. I think I had 4 hours of training, so I was able to knit a couple squares during that. And then I have also been, the Talvinen, I almost forgot, is by Caitlin Hunter, and I am a big fan of her projects, her patterns. The next one is in this bag made by my fiance. He has an industrial sewing machine, and the handles are a belt that he had in high school. So I'm knitting a pattern out of this book by Stephanie Lotven, Knit Happy with Self-Striping Yarn. So it's a book full of ideas of what to do with self-striping yarn if you don't necessarily want to knit socks with it. So super fun with that. So I'm knitting this. It is called... What is it called? It is called Sock Arms Cardigan, which that should have been obvious. So this is a good representation of what mine is going to look like. I am using a Knit Picks gloss yarn in fingering weight. Set that there. In this light blue colorway. Let me take the row counter off. And I have just finished like the upper back yoke. So let me see if I can put those on a try-on cable. And then started knitting this. I think this is going to be the front part of the front yoke, although I just put these stitches on, and actually you knit these stitches. So this was a bind off, or maybe a cast on. I think it was a cast on. So I just picked up those stitches and am about to go in the other direction in stockinette. So I know there's 5 rows of stockinette, and then I don't know what happens. And the sock arms are going to be this very colorful self-striping yarn by Freckled Whimsey. The colorway is called Jeepers Creepers. So this is what they will look like together. So looking forward to that. And then finally,
my new cast on. It's in this bag. This bag was made by my mom. Got it for Christmas this year. And these are the Valenvent socks, hosted by the Bakery Bears, which I think at least one of my listeners, Carrie, mentioned that she had heard of the health problems of Dan, so Mr. Jones, husband to Kay Jones, designer K.F. Jones. She still had released the pattern for her patrons, and they are called Reflected Love Socks. So this is what they look like. So it has a little colorwork section in the I guess in the leg, because the cuff, knit the cuff in the self-striping yarn, and then you start this colorwork section, and you can see that there are hearts. I hope you can see that. And then knit the rest of the leg. It's her butterfly heel, and then I am on the foot. So I am using these 9-inch circulars by Chalgoo. I think these are called twists. So in the cuff, I used let me think about this, a 2.25 millimeter. And then for the color work, which I think this actually worked out really well, I used a whole needle size bigger, meaning that I used a 3.25 millimeter. And it has very nice stretch to it. Usually it can be a little grippy, or a little tight, I should say, in the colorwork section, but I'm really happy that I made that choice. I worried that the needles were going to be too big, but they worked out just fine, and I knit the smallest size, which we'll see. I mean, that I like my socks to stay up a little bit, and you know, sometimes they stretch out, and then after you wear them for a while and wash them, then they tend to shrink a little bit, because I don't hand wash my socks. I throw them in the washing machine with everything else. I mean, it's superwash yarn, so should be able to do that. Excuse me while I get some tea. So, and I have a lot of socks that I'm wearing in my rotation. A whole sock drawer full of socks, and then I have a box, kind of a shoebox full of socks that are just waiting to be worn as I transition out some of the ones that are starting to wear out and really show their age. So that's what's happening with those. What else is going on? So the weather this week has been kind of nice and spring-like. The temperature has gotten almost up to 60. Looking outside, I mean, you saw on the walk to the barn this morning that it was a beautiful morning. There are some bugs coming out. I noticed some mosquitoes on Bragi the other day. Odin is shedding out, and that is typical for him. Tweety birds have been out. I hope you heard them on the walk to the barn, unless I was just talking over them. So it's been really nice. Kind of feels like gardening weather, but with so much going on, I'm probably not going to be doing much gardening except cleaning up dead plants. It is getting cold too, so that timing feels a little off. I'm going to bring my computer over here so I can look at it. I finally ate some microgreens that I kept talking about eating in previous episodes, so I'm not sure I'm a fan of microgreens. I like sprouts, but microgreens, they always have, because they are grown in soil, they always have a little bit of soil attached to them, and it can be hard to clean. So I may just switch over to sprouts. Oh, I mentioned the horses, the vet's coming today. She'll be here in about not quite an hour, I think, and just doing a routine. Excuse me. Pollen is out too. I keep getting. I signed up for pollen alerts for my area, and apparently pollen is out there. Just thinking about pollinators. I'm not sure if you're aware that bats are also pollinators. I'm not sure. Oh, Stand by. Okay, sorry for the interruption. I had to take a phone call. No news right now, so let's just carry on and get through this. So anyway, the vet is coming and just doing routine vaccinations and dental and other horse maintenance. So that's happening today. No training because they have to be sedated for their dental work. And, it's nice to give them the rest of the day off to recuperate from that. So I did work on Odin's PT, worked on it with some stretching exercises. One of them I really can't do without being concerned about hurting my back, because it's a stretch that you have to pick up their hind foot and kind of curl the hoof around so that their hip joint flexes properly, and then you kind of push it out and then up under their tummy and kind of stand up. And it's called the fire hydrant. So if you think about a dog and fire hydrant, that's the position. My trainer and I worked on this last Friday, and what we found is that Odin has pretty good range of motion in all directions in his hind legs, which was really nice. I've also been working on the 5-minute hill walking, and we do have that hill in our driveway. So I can tell that it's really hard for him to do this. So I've been trying to take it really slow and be very patient with him and just keeping it at 5 minutes. So, and I at first I was doing the stretches and the hill walking all in the same day, but I almost think that was too much for him. So I've been alternating with it, and I will see what my vet says today. He has been on a diet and he's lost some weight, so that's good. He's been very enthusiastic about breakfast and dinner, and has cleaned up all his food, which that in part is good. So other than that, I started the Riders Pilates Club workout sessions or online sessions by Jess, who is British, I believe, and I really enjoyed it. And I think my PT would approve of. And I'm stretching out my shoulders because I have felt some extra stretch and work in my shoulders, and I think my PT would approve of that. So wedding planning is going along. I mean, it's a week from tomorrow, so we're just kind of getting the final details in place and kind of strategizing timing for getting our house set up for that. So next time I podcast, sorry, I have the hiccups. Next time I podcast, I will be on my way to get a haircut, and I do have a meeting that afternoon, unfortunately. But I think am going to have my trainer out. I mean, I just kind of need to see how things shape up this week. So that's really all I have for now. And I will, of course, keep you posted on any news about Dad. So the hospital staff has been wonderful and very kind. And we, the family, are very grateful for that. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.